All right, Daddy, you're live, I think.
Hey, everybody.
That was, oh my God. Mikhail, as soon as he went live, you blew your nose.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
This is
that was a
live.
good way.
It's not like you're watching the YouTube videos and Patrick edited everything out, so you never know what you're going to see.
I don't know what what we're gonna hear next.
But we try to keep it gentle and holy as much as we can, and that's only a human thing, Patrick. Blowing a nose is okay. I just heard something else. I don't know what that was. A seal or something? I don't know what that was. Anyhow, we like to have fun too, you know. A friendly work environment, I think, it's productivity that goes on most of the time, except if it gets out of hand, and it can get out of hand sometimes. So you have to be careful of that, right? But anyhow, I wanted to talk a little bit about the flow of business, and then as usual, Patrick, people can comment. I don't see any comments right now, but my friend from Arizona, I talked to her today about a project that I would like to talk live when I get to it. I have a pitch. I have a pitch I can show you on my text messages on her chair. And we had a great conversation, her and I think it was last week, and she followed up with a question about another project that she was working on. And actually, I don't know if I showed you some of her projects. I hope she doesn't mind that I can throw these up at her. I'm only going to show these to the camera, okay? All right. um, but yeah, maybe I should just start with this. Let's see some of the projects. I don't see it, Patrick. Oh, I see Daria. Daria. Hi, Daria. How you doing? Thanks. And Malcolm. Malcolm is, I was talking to Malcolm about you to Daria. She's in Arizona. You're in, Malcolm's in New Mexico, right, Patrick? He's in Arizona. Hey, Daria, Malcolm is in Arizona. You two should talk. But Daria, I'll start with Daria's project. That she had an interesting request from a client. Very unusual for me even to get one of these requests, but she had this chair, an open back, a Victorian chair. Patrick, are you watching this too? So do you see that? Does that show up? Does that show up, Pat?
You have to get a little bit closer.
Well, hey, this is kind of odd because you have to go
glare too. Up and
you have to go left is right, right is left. Okay, well, anyhow, I could describe it. So she was talking. A customer wanted an open back, upholstered, you know, and it's these are chairs, these Victorian chairs. I reminded Daria that they weren't made to lean back on. So my only that I always the cautionary tale to the client, you know, if they have an upholstered back, you tend to, you know, go back a little bit more on it, you know, kind of relax on it. But these chairs are perching chairs, perching. Perch. When I'm talking to my North Carolina company that gives us our fabrics, I have to be careful with my Boston accent. We've had some funny conversations, Patrick. You know, it is funny. I understand them perfectly. I love that southern accent. You can really understand it, right, Michaela? But Michaela doesn't have a Boston accent, does she, Patrick? I think she has more of a Berkshirian accent. Or Springfield, Worcester. She has a Worcester accent. Anyhow, so you remind people on these Victorian chairs, you almost have to give a lesson on seating etiquette, right? Elliot says howdy, howdy. Lee says hiya. Hey, anyhow, Daria and I worked out, and she's going to be doing. I think we worked it out for her about how to web that. She's going to web it on the inside because the profile on the outside would be too big for the flaps of the webbing, and then she's going to do a light, probably 2 layers of cotton on the front. You don't need much because it profiles without padding, so fine. And she's going to dress it up with nails. Let me show you some of her other work, you guys. I think you'd be interested in this. Daria is one of my favorites now because she also, Patrick, you'd like this. She has a horse rescue. And Michaela, how many horses do you guys help at that farm that you help on? Michaela. But I mean, you got new horses. You're always getting new horses because people can't afford them, and they have to give them up, right? Something like that. I mean, you just don't find a horse wandering around like a dog, right? Right, Patrick?
No, especially with how much they cost.
Yeah, and they're so beautiful, aren't they? So this is some of Daria's work. She's out in Arizona, so it's got a real Arizonian feel to it. It looks like it came out of a Clint Eastwood cowboy movie, right? One of my favorites, Clint Eastwood. Oh, this is the back. I love the back of this chair. It really has the cowhide, shows the hide nicely, doesn't it? I think she has some other things in here that I like to show you. Oh, this is beautiful. This little settee she did. I love hearing from you guys, especially people who have taken the YouTube video. So what Daria's done, she's taken the channel, she's learned from the channel, and she's doing this work to supplement the to raise money for her. I believe she must be a 501c or a nonprofit for the horse rescue. So isn't that nice? And we like to tell people that we use horsehair, but we don't use the tail or the mane. We use the body, and the body is shaved, and the horses are well fed and well cared for because they make money on the shaving of the horses. For guys like me, buy the horsehair. So we like to tell people that. I'll catch up with some comments. Malcolm says the last chair I repaired like that had both back joints broken, and they had obviously been repaired before because of the seating issues. You know, people I think are just used to flopping. We're a bunch of floppers now. You know. And Malcolm says, you know what Malcolm says? See, you got to remember, I'm from Boston. What do I know? He said there's a lots of horses wandering around here in Arizona. Yeah, maybe they're just out there for a nice walk. Maybe they're they're okay out there. I don't know.
Same with South Dakota.
Darius says I have an animal sanctuary, horses, cows, goats, dogs, etc. I donate furniture that I paint and upholster to other animal rescues and sanctuaries to raise dollars to help animals.
Well, tell them the name of the one we volunteered.
What's the name of the one?
Haber Inn.
Spell that.
Michaela, help here.
Actually, Daria.
I guess the name on.
If I don't know if you.
Are you wearing the shirt?
If you, because of course Patrick right away said, make sure you tell Daria about the horse rescue where they are in Connecticut, right, Michaela?
Haybur.
Haber.
That's her last name. They just.
What's the last?
Haberin. So they just divided our name. Hay, obviously.
Yeah. Hay, Burr.
INN.
The Haber Inn.
Yeah.
Haber Inn.
Equine Rescue. Plainfield, I think like that.
It sounds like they just do horses, Patrick. Just horses.
Oh, no, they do donkeys.
Donkeys.
Horses, mini horses, and donkeys.
Horses and donkeys. That's it.
They had chickens and all that, but I don't think those are rescue.
Well, maybe we'll ask Daria. Are there such thing as rescue chickens? Do you rescue chickens? Doesn't say she does.
They used to have pigs.
I
think they passed. What was that about that, Michaela? They passed some law where they told them it was too smelly. Something crazy like.
About in Connecticut, you're not allowed
Yeah.
to have pigs within
Oh, really? I bet
I love pigs.
that's not a problem out where Daria is. I don't think because there's a lot of space.
South Dakota either. We were living out there, believe me.
Well, you just have one neighbor to complain about it, and then that's it, right? But it sounds like Daria is really into a lot here. Well, I'm glad we could help in the small way that we do, and I just want to remind people that it's not just me teaching; it's Patrick. Patrick's editing really. He doesn't get much credit for that, but for every hour that we have online, there's an hour of editing at least, right, Patrick? At least I would say
for the online class.
Yeah,
these are easy. They just go up.
So Lee says, if I take a Sharpie permanent marker to mark a line in my needle bar on my sewing machine, would it stay? I made a mark with another mark and it wiped off, so now I have to retime my sewing machine. I'll tell you what, I don't allow markers anywhere near me. I have a friend who says, make sure you take a marker and mark the fabric, mark the customer's name. I use chalk. Yeah, chalk can wear out, but it takes a while. But all you need is that one time where you mark an inside back and it was a repair job with the marker, and then you ended up reupholstering it. I think Malcolm can answer that question more than I can actually for Lee. I think he's already doing that. You need to scribe the metals. No marker will work. There you go. Malcolm, thank you for that. Lee says, Malcolm, so I would need to literally scratch a deep mark on the needle bar to make a bar. They're talking about timing a sewing machine. You know, in the shops, all the shops that I've worked, they've had mechanics come in, and mechanics, sewing machine mechanics, are few and far between, and they're expensive. And you know, I notice with my own machine, if I let somebody get on it, almost always something happens. It's not that they're misusing the machine. It's just that Malcolm, Lee, and everybody on out there, Elliot could probably vouch for this and probably back me up. These machines develop a personality with the people that use them. I mean, you get really even the Jukies, which are made for they're a better machine as far as not breaking down like the Singers were. Singers were really especially true on the Singer. I know most upholsterers would not let anybody get on their or stitches would not like anybody to get on their machine because it's just that they knew that you know your machine, and when somebody else gets on it, something always messes up. That's what I find. Lee says, what kind of chalk to use to mark fabric? It's a special upholstery chalk. It's not a school chalk. School chalk will stain. It's a powdery chalk. I can't remember the brand name, but I get it from my supplier. It's a chalk too that you can easily cut the end off and make like a sharp point, so that when you're marking fabric out, it's a good line. Never use pen. Never use markers when you're doing fabrics. Marking your fabric on the back side with this chalk is fine too. If you've seen the videos, you know how I abbreviate and how I'm redundant when I'm marking my fabric, my cover on the outside. Really, we're real sticklers for this. Making sure you're marking what it is and the direction, indicating directions. For instance, on your outside arms, you write on the top, outside arms, top. I even put TOP. I really, because all you need to do, even if it's a light, even if no matter what fabric it is, turn one fabric upside down by accident. You'd be surprised. You don't notice it until the job is done, and then you look at it and say, "Oh no!" You have to go back and fix it. Recently, even I made a mistake. I had two end cushions, you know, T cushions. Well, T cushions are the ones with both ends. These are like call them L cushions on a sofa, and I put the boxing on the same side. I ran it the same way instead of reversing one. You know what I mean? Or I reversed one. Anyhow, one of the boxings didn't match. It wasn't even a velvet, and you could see the shading difference. So really, I very rarely make that mistake. That's really kind of a newbie mistake. But you know, usually when you're in a hurry. Malcolm says this prank chalk is what I bought, or clay trimmers chalk, which is a triangle. Yeah, that's fine. A lot of tailors use those chalks. Tailoring people use that chalk. Malcolm, Lee's asking Malcolm, would I be able to learn my machine to fix them from YouTube videos, or would I find online classes to learn how to fix my machines? It'd be interesting to see if Malcolm has some input on that. I mean, obviously, my take is I love the YouTube videos. I think I give out a lot of information enough so that people like Daria can earn money. We've heard from other people. I always like to talk about our friend in Liberty, Patrick. Remember his name? Our friend in Liberty, Alabama. Blair. Come on now, Blair. We haven't heard from him in a while, which means he's busy. That's fine. But so a young man, Blair, who opened up a shop based on the YouTube videos. We heard from people out in the Midwest who've done the same thing, and we're talking to people now who have. Malcolm, Darius asking what part of Arizona you're in. There are a few okay videos. Malcolm says a machine repair, but not many. Helps me mechanically inclined. Helps me to be mechanically inclined. And then Elliot says it depends on the machine. Isn't that right? That's true. He's saying that there's no guarantee you could find a mechanic. You know, the old Singer machines were so tricky. They used to have these springs in them, and we still have springs in the Juki. But I remember the springs in the on the Singer machines were very touchy, very sensitive. And you know, when you look at a machine, any sewing machine, and you're looking at your threading, so you might be wondering, okay, the thread comes down, it loops around two eyes this way, it goes in and out these eyes. It goes to one arm and then another arm. It goes up and around. It goes to another arm. It goes through the needle. Before it goes through the needle, it's got another little hole. Well, all of that, all of those little things, when it comes to the needle, matches to the bobbin. Now, the bobbin is pretty simple compared to the top, right? It only has this little piece that comes over, this little, not even a spring. It's like a little piece of metal that catches the bobbin when you put the bobbin in to match to tension. You're trying to match the tension, and it has to really match up really good in order to get a great stitch. That's it, basically, you know. But if any of those things are off, including the tension of that little spring, which has a little knob, which I would try to avoid. Once you get that, some people tape it. It's so sensitive. You know, don't mess with that too much. If it's off a little bit, you have a bad stitch, and you always. I'm always checking the stitching when I do it. So, and sometimes you know that it slips out of one of those eyes, and you don't notice it, and you stitch something, and you might not notice because it's on the back side of the stitching. You always want to make sure when you're stitching to check. I do, of course. Lisa's the older machines seem to be easier to work. Electric machines are a nightmare, but I'd say the Jukis. So the Juki, and I mentioned this before. The brilliance of the Juki is that it's self-oiling. That's one thing, but they reversed engineered the Singer, and they came up. I never thought I would say this. They came up with a better machine, but that's my opinion. For sure, they came up. It's easier maintained. It's easier to thread. But it still has a personality. You can't forget that. Machines, every single machine I've ever been on has its own personality. I know it sounds weird. It's like, isn't that like cars, Patrick? Are cars the same?
Some people even,
Huh?
they call their cars like names.
Yeah,
Name them,
that's right. I don't know if any of you name your sewing machine out there, like old Bessie or
I think yours is Jimmy. I think yours is Jimmy.
Oh no, I wouldn't name mine Jimmy. It's always got, for me, it would be a girl's name. Sorry. It would be a girl's name. The older machine, it seems to work. I mean, Elise says, of course, only place here in the place I live, they will not teach anyone because they're greedy for money. They same ones who dropped my machine and never fixed it. That cost me $150 with them, plus another $300. You know, it was like that in the upholstery business. The trade, it was one of those trades that was closed down. You know, and it was really hard for many, many years until YouTube came along and I started exposing all the secrets. It was a father passing down to the son. So a lot of the older shops had. I know one shop that had 4 generations, and all that information was kept, close, and secret. But I like the idea that I and other people have opened it up a little bit. And I don't know everything, and my techniques are different. People complain. I think we had a complaint about one of the pieces I did, Patrick, recently. They were complaining about they thought I was wrong, which is fine. I'm open up to criticism. Patrick took it a little
On
bit.
YouTube or in person?
YouTube, Patrick.
Yeah, there's more than one.
Yeah, but you take your criticism too, no matter where you are in your career too. I mean, you can always learn from other people too. I've learned from people younger, half my age, so I wouldn't discount it. But Lee says, for another mechanic I trust from recommendations to come fix my machine, so it's not cheap. Yeah, it is not cheap to have a mechanic come in. Even the scissor sharpening is hard to find. I don't know. Maybe you guys could talk about that. Where do you get your scissors sharpened properly? We don't want points on our scissors. There's not many people that understand that. So you know what I find, a little hack here, a little tip is barbers do not need sharp-ended scissors either, for the obvious reasons. So if you know a barber, ask who sharpens their scissors. that could be a good way of getting us as a shop. And beware of knife sharpeners. They want to put points on everything. So that's just a little tip. The scales to adjust the bobbin spring tension are about 40 to 60 bucks. Do you believe that? Oh, is that the scale, Elliot? I'm not sure if I understand. Let me read more of it. Didn't seem worth it for one machine. Oh, he actually bought the scale to keep. Okay. I figured out a way to use a kitchen scale to adjust the tension. That's interesting. Malcolm says a Juki Conso are two very good brands. He agrees with me on the Juki of industrial machines, which are easy to get parts for. Older machines are very hard to source parts for sure. Yeah. Malcolm says for embroidery machines, I bought a Toyo thread strain gauge worth the money. Malcolm does more than I do, I'll tell you. He's into more. Remember what he did with the wood products too, Patrick?
Yeah, the ornaments.
He's into wood products. Malcolm, you could talk a little bit about what else you do on there. And as a matter of fact, I don't mind anybody on the Dari if you want to give your information about maybe people want to donate to your cause and Malcolm put down your company. It's okay, right, Patrick? That's okay for our subscribers, right? People who are looking. Lee says, I have two PFAFF machines. One is a newer one, 1245, and the other one I just bought for backup is from the 50s, which is a 145. So I want to talk about something that's been happening that's kind of contemporary, something that's happening now. You guys are in business. You always have to pay attention to patterns, not fabric patterns, patterns in your business. I mean, as a small businessman, we have to really. It's not just the work we're doing. We have to pay attention to other things. Like for instance, I started noticing I have 6 back ordered fabrics, Michaela. 6. I don't think that's ever happened, right? So I called the fabric supplier, and to keep it simple, we like Greenhouse. I'll just tell everybody. I love working with Greenhouse. They have a line called. They have a good line called Anna Elizabeth within the regular Greenhouse line, and I think they're a really easy company to use. Don't you, Michaela?
Yeah.
Michaela you might not have as much of experience working with other companies as I have. Some of the older companies, some of the highfalutin, the more. It's true though, Patrick. It's like I won't even mention brand names, but they tend to be more difficult to work with. But Greenhouse, you call them, you get straight answers. The girls are friendly, the guys are friendly. They answer the phone, get straight answers. But I noticed these back ordered fabrics. So I called Michaela. I wanted to know what was going on. I said, why do I have 6 back ordered fabrics that aren't coming in, some of them until February? And as a small business, this is really a problem. I mean, so people have given deposits, and I'm waiting for the fabric, and it's not coming in, and people are getting impatient, and so they, what they said? Chinese New Year. They gave that was one of the reasons why, and also the time of year and all this. And I'm saying to myself, well, that doesn't help me. Now, what could I have done to avoid that, Patrick? So that's what I always think is, and then I like the company I'm working with, but that doesn't mean that if this continues, I'm not very patient with this stuff. And there are other fabric companies out there. So now I'm starting to think, Patrick, why can't I work with an American company? Fabrics that are made mainly in America.
Well, does it even exist?
I don't know. There's something to look into. Maybe one of our people here could tell us. Is there a fabric company that just deals with American mills? I'm not even sure if there are any more American mills. I'm sitting in a mill town right now in New England. There's a mill right across the street. How many square feet, Patrick, do you think that mill has?
So that could be something that.
Tens of thousands, tens of thousands. It's a huge mill. Just visualize a huge brick mill, 4 stories high, and in its heyday of manufacturing, right? They probably had a fabric or 2 company in there, Patrick. And
Lowell definitely did.
well, they're all Lowell. All these mills are turned into, they're subdivided, turned into offices or apartments or apartments, right, Patrick? So, are there any more American-made fabrics? Who knows? Uh-oh. Malcolm says, you know what Malcolm says? He says expect more delays from overseas manufacturers in the coming year. Why is that, Malcolm? Do you have any idea why that would
I
be?
guess it might be political reasons.
Well, he doesn't have to say. He doesn't have to bring up any names, but I mean, we all have to know this from a. He says Naugahyde vinyl is still made here. There are a few. Malcolm knows everything, doesn't
Oh,
he?
jeez.
Malcolm's a good resource, you guys. Yeah, political issues with tariffs. Yeah, Malcolm, I know. I know it. So now is the time to plan for these things. Really. We're going to have to look into this, Patrick. I don't really want um, of all the fabrics that I have, 6 are back ordered. I think I only have like 10 orders of fabric, and over half of them are back ordered. That's not good. And then I didn't tell you, Mikhail, I had a couple that said they've dropped. They've dropped a few. Customer comes in a new book, picks a fabric, and then you call and say the fabric's been dropped. This is a problem. So we might have to do something to fix
Well,
this.
isn't that the case with them taking too long? Well, if they would have swooped in on that,
What do you mean?
they waited so long, the fabric got taken off the thing.
No, I'm talking about a new book. Customer comes in, says, I like that fabric. She paid for it. She leaves. I call. Sometimes you can't call while the customer's there. It's not kosher to do that. At least for me. It's not something that I like to do. But then they say the fabric's been dropped.
Oh,
That's happening. And
I thought
that's
you
the
meant
first.
they reserved and they waited too long, and then it got dropped. You saying right then and there?
Yeah. Malcolm is saying foam is made here, but it's completely dependent upon oil prices for sure. Yep. Yeah. So let me get to the YouTube videos. Uh, the comments, determining yardage. Thank you. I learned so much about determining yardage. Sometimes when you're looking at furniture and you're in a customer's house, or a customer brings you a photograph, I'm snapping my finger because you really need answers. From a sales perspective, you really need answers quick because people want a bottom line. You'd be surprised, even with me, I've been doing it for so long. So what's the bottom line? Before I could even me, they're looking for the bottom line like this. And you have to be really kind of snappy.
All I hear is
That it really is, though, when you're doing sales, and people are impatient, these days. So you have to be so. For instance, woman comes in, she's got a club chair. She got a club chair with the skirt. Well, she doesn't want a skirt. So you can't really use formulas either. I think in that video, I was showing people how to break it down in your mind when you're looking at a piece of furniture. Let's, for instance, the inside arms is 1 yard, a cushion is 1.5 yards, a back cushion is 1 yard, the outside arms are 1.5, and the outside back 1.0, and you're calculating it up. The reason you want to do that is if they say, well, I don't want a skirt. Or if you added for the skirt, you could take that away. And from a sales point, I can save you a yard of fabric if you don't want a skirt. Because this is what we're dealing with now with the competition for new furniture. Any little bit helps. So people have that. They come in with the cost. So anyway, you can save them money. And you save them money by being really good at yardage, you guys. If you're good at yardage, if somebody is not as good at yardage, or they have a salesperson that isn't an upholsterer looking at a piece of furniture, they're always going to do it high. They're always going to go high on the yardage. So you have to be careful. You have to really be close with your yardage. You don't want to over order. You want to be honest. I only do retail. I'm not gouging people. I'm happy with retail, and I'm trying to help them on that end. On labor, I'm about in the middle. And even with the fairness that I think I have now, we're competing against overseas manufacturers that really union. Forget about unions; they don't even know what a union is. The cheap labor and materials that they have. So we're in competition with that. So we have to be good at sales. We really have to, and then I'll bring it up. I said, well, it's American. You're helping a local business by coming here. I'll throw everything out, right, Patrick? You have to. You're trying to make a living. And even with all that, I get less than 50% of all my estimates, and that's a waste of time. I have piles of estimates, and each estimate's got to be 15 minutes, you know. So that really isn't factored into the next job either. That's just money lost. So You always thinking about how do I recoup? How do I recoup? How do you make extra money? Teaching is one of them. Having a YouTube channel is another one. You know, I don't know. It goes and doing just cushions, you know, repair jobs. I go back and forth on repair jobs. If I'm not busy, I'll do more repairs, for instance. Let me just catch up on some comments. Malcolm says, foam is made here. Elliot says, to figure yardage, I've been using the drawing program, Inkscape. Yeah, with that, I have been able to lay out an actual cutting diagram for all the pieces. Did you hear that, Patrick?
Cool.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
Is that IT stuff, Patrick, that he's talking about?
I never heard of that program. Sounds cool.
Probably. Malcolm says, competing on price only with cheaply made furniture from overseas is nearly impossible. Tell me about it. You have to offer something they cannot like custom design fabrics, etc. Yeah, I agree. But then, Malcolm, you're getting into when you go into custom, you're going into a smaller percentage of client, and this is the catch 22 here, and everybody's after that one client. I remember there was a commercial here in New England. It hadn't snowed, and somebody had a commercial where there was one snowflake falling from the sky, and all these plows were chasing the one snowflake. That's what it's like. All us upholsterers are chasing that one customer that has, that has the money to spend everything, but you find ways. Find ways. Having a storefront is important. Um, I mean, you pay extra for that. That's another thing. But being in a good location is important. Being around for a while, like I have, is important. What I never thought was important is your electronic footprint. That's become huge, Patrick. And even the YouTube videos. There's no way we can directly trace who comes to us, but I hear sometimes people saw a YouTube video and that's how they found us. Isn't that wonderful, Patrick?
Yeah, you're that a decent.
What?
You're at a decent.
We've had a few of them, right? So let me get to another comment here from the Upholstery Show. Dear Kevin and Company, where can I buy quality thread? Weight 92 to be exact. Thanks in advance. Malcolm, maybe you can offer some advice on threading, where you get your thread. Honestly, I don't order a lot of threads, but I have a supplier. But maybe Malcolm has somebody that he has that's even better. So Dolores, she says from the Upholstery Show last week, Kevin Kennedy has been a huge help to me when I wanted to reupholster an old couch that had sentimental value. His videos helped me in every step of the way since I knew virtually nothing about the process when I started. I finished the project and loved it. Thank you so much, Kevin. It gave me a great sense of accomplishment, but it's challenging work. Dolores from Arlington. Actually, I want to thank Dolores. She donated all her tools, including, Patrick, a nice staple gun and hoses and tools to the school. So I'll use those. I'll just pass that on. But they're all she had went out and bought herself all these tools and upholstered a sofa. She showed me a picture of the sofa she upholstered. It was beautiful. She did a great job. So there you go. It's possible, you guys. It's possible to take these videos and upholster your own furniture. Patrick, do you have any other business that I'm forgetting?
Not this week.
Let's just catch up. So Malcolm says anybody who does handwork is going to have to chase the rare client who is willing to pay. Heirlooms and antique should be more valuable to regular people than new furniture. I agree. And then he says Wawak has a good selection of upholstery threads. That's WAWACK. I buy Aman, AMAN, from Europe and Madeira embroidery thread. Elliot says, I've finished the sofa. I posted a few videos on Facebook. Did Elliot use our videos, Patrick, or is he?
Pretty sure. And we have to, that reminds me, we should check in on the Facebook forum.
Daria says, I need a Patrick.
Sorry, I'm taking.
He's taken. Sometimes I try to remember giving Patrick credit because him being behind the scenes, and because I work with my hands and I'm banging away. all day long with my hands, and all my whole life's been physical work. Sometimes I don't understand a lot from the technical standpoint, from the IT standpoint. But you spend a lot of time, Patrick, right, on that on these editing, right, and keeping up with the social media and everything. Do you think you could do a better job, or
Of
you?
course. I think we've been slacking a lot lately.
Now, how does
Doing
they?
other stuff.
How, Daria reminded me about the the farm down there in Connecticut. How do they get donations? How do they advertise?
They run events, so they do like Christmas trails,
Ah,
Halloween trail, and
so Daria, Patrick and Michaela volunteer. Patrick, didn't you play Jason, the crazy killer once in a
Leatherface.
Leatherface? Anything to make money. So Patrick dresses up as Leatherface, and what did Michaela dress up as?
She does the ticket booth.
She does a ticket at Halloween.
Yeah.
And is that a big event?
Yeah, they had 1,000 people.
And so, how much do you think they
held three
made?
events had 1,000 people each.
They have
No,
three.
they made $1,000. I mean, it all depends on the people. Sometimes doesn't correlate how much they get because one person could donate 500. You know.
So they made. Do you think that each event you had a Halloween, Christmas, and what else?
They do
fall.
they do other random events scattered throughout
And
the year.
you guys help to save the horses. That's what you do. You go down there and help them.
Yeah, so the event is free, and they rely on people donating.
The event is free.
Yeah, they can't. It's nonprofit, so.
So it's good. That saves. How many horses do you think $1,000 saves? I mean, that saves.
Well, nowadays they said they're struggling because you could barely buy hay.
They
Hay
could.
is so expensive.
Wow, did you hear that, Daria? Hay is very expensive in Connecticut, and they need to eat hay, right? Hay is a staple.
They go out of state, but they go down south. They go down south for something.
Yeah,
They take a big flatbed in there. I don't know if it's for hay or.
this is a problem, I guess. So it's good you guys do that. Daria says, no, not like that. Just a wonderful behind-the-scenes person, etc. Social
No,
media.
I was kidding.
Oh, you? What did you say? You
I
said.
said I'm taken.
Now,
You can find you had somebody interning for you for free with the upholstery.
what's that?
She's looking for maybe like an intern or something like that.
Interns are hard. I wish I could do that. I really do. But taking on an intern is really difficult. I did that a couple of times, but you take on it's a responsibility, and it does take time away from your regular work.
Anybody who does social media or something, they always charge money. I noticed that.
Yeah,
It's tough to find someone to do that for free. That's a family member like me and you.
yeah. Well, anyhow, you guys are great, and I appreciate your support here. And we want to try to be more consistent with these live shows, right, Patrick?
Yeah, man. I know Lee had a comment in the beginning.
She did.
Lee also had a comment on the forum. Did you answer that?
No, what was it?
You might have copy and pasted it. I don't know if it's the same question that we talked about earlier.
Do you have it there, Patrick?
I can read it again. I guess it
Read it.
I'm curious since I finally identified 5 sets of sewing feet. It's the same question.
No, it isn't.
They came with my new to me 1950s Fat 145 I bought in December.
Yeah.
So now I know what each. Feet are for. I'm curious what feet I would need just for upholstery for sofas and chairs and other things to sew.
I only use a zipper foot, a double welt foot, and I don't even use. They used to have a single welt foot. I don't use that anymore. I use the zipper foot for the single welt that I do now. But I honestly though it depends on your skill level. You can use a zipper foot on piping, but your skill level you have to kind of, and Malcolm probably can attest to this. You have to kind of turn your fabric into the needle at a little bit of a degree. Whereas if you were using a welt foot, you can sew straight. And actually, using a welt foot's kind of hard around the corners too. You have to lift the foot in both cases, but it's harder to see through the welt foot. I don't know if I'm making any sense at all, but when you're turning for your corners. So I only use, now that I think of it, it's funny you should mention this. I only use a zipper foot and a double welt foot. That's it for me. Never use a machine without any feet. That's dangerous for your fingers. It's good having fat fingers for some reason. When you have with me, I don't think I could intentionally put my finger underneath to get to get a needle through it. And I'll tell you, folks, that's probably the most painful thing that can happen to you in upholstery, getting a needle through your finger. We used to have a stitcher say, "You're not a stitcher until you do it." Well, try to avoid that. Daria says, "God bless you, Kevin, for being so kind and willing to help." Oh, you're welcome, Daria. Malcolm says, "I remember seeing that post. They look like Singer standard 111 style, plenty available online." Not sure what I think he's talking about the feet, Patrick.
I'm
But
looking at Elliot's project here right now. Very, very cool.
can you put that up?
Do you have your phone out?
Yeah.
Go to the Facebook form. He has a bunch of.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that very, very well, Patrick. You're going to have to come over here and do it. I can't get at it. Can you do it?
Yep. And Malcolm has a YouTube channel now, and he has a video up that he posted.
His
So
first video?
Well, he had other stuff, I think, but this is the first
Oh,
project.
that's great.
video.
I bet Malcolm, you got to take off because you do multiple things. That you would be. I bet that would take off if you have time to do it. I encourage that. I guess that's great. Who would
So
ever?
everybody will. Maybe you can post a link. I can't. Put the
Yeah,
link
we
up
can-
there now,
we'll-
but check
yeah.
out Malcolm's channel.
Yeah, Malcolm, you can put your link up if you want. If you're not ready today, you could do it next time or anytime, right, Patrick? On the
Yeah.
YouTube channel.
Here's Elliot's. Look at that. Cool. Huh? Big project.
Oh wow! Oh, look at that stripe. Hold on a second. I want to just get that. There's a before and after, and he did something that I'm glad he did. He cut the welting on the bias. Hold on a second. Let me just see. And that's what I like. Even though he had a broad stripe there, I think bias piping is the best because I don't care how good of a stitcher you are. It's almost impossible to get the stripes to line up anyhow on a piping with the way the machine works. But on any type of stripe, even a stripe with such a big repeat, I love the fact that, of doing the bias cut. I think it really looks classy. I tell people when I'm talking to them about jobs, Schumacher has a whole line of beautiful trims, and when you have a stripe like this and you put it on the bias, it looks like a really expensive trim because it looks different enough, but it has all the coloring too. It's a perfect match, obviously, but I like what he did here. Let me see. He's got a view of his arm from the top. It's kind of nice. Good job. You guys are great. And they can post this on the Facebook, right, Patrick?
Yeah. Keep posting, Elliot. That's cool.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Well, I think, how long have we been on, Patrick?
Ah, jeez.
But we try to keep it about 45 minutes. Darius says, was Malcolm's family in
Yeah,
upholstery?
45.
I don't know, Malcolm. You can answer that if you don't mind. And Elliot is thanking us so much. And thank you guys too. And this new format is working out, Patrick.
Yeah, I think I kind of like this better.
Oh,
You got you right there reading the question.
I don't know. It's a little harder for
This
me.
is how most people do it,
It is.
Yeah, they don't really have they're in front of the screen and they're reading the comments.
But I want to remind people and my son here that we were talking about. I think I might have been talking to Dario or somebody about the actual information, the actual, like if I were to write a book just on upholstery techniques, it's not going to be a long book. It's the skill it's the building of the skill that takes time. But so there's not a lot to talk about as far as.
Well, yeah, you can't. So we've tried. We do a Q&A with you doing projects. You couldn't do it in this setup, but that would be kind of cool.
Well,
we're doing that in
yeah.
April. We're going to be doing the class. So
We have over 400 hours or more. I think it's more than that of showing people how to do things. That's a lot.
Well, my original hope for these live Q&As was you working as you were.
Yeah,
that's kind of hard. How the heck would we do that?
But it's easy from my standpoint. It's easier just to show rather than talk and describe it. But we're also talking about business matters and about how to survive in the world of business and all that, and other issues like that. And reading from the forum, but it's always easier to show as the videos attest to that. Darius says, "Thank you, Kevin and Patrick. Information and fun. Thank you. We'll see you later."
God. All right, we're good.
Yeah, that's a good segue out. Thanks, Daria. Thanks for joining, Daria. Appreciate it.
See you guys next week.
Thanks a lot, guys.